The year 2015 has witnessed the inaugural event of the FNB Codefest, a very successful program which incentivizes the execution and delivery of new IT solutions that will benefit customers and grow business. The program stems from the need to bring IT development and innovative business thinking together, where business strategists see a problem and aim to fill the cracks. Often, the solution is just in the next room, only to be discovered at a later stage. Codefest aims to get a foot in the door, to solve problems and grow at a more effective rate. By putting the problem and the solution into one room, there is no limit to the possibilities that can be achieved at a Codefest. Take a look at the winners of the FNB Codefest 2015, the Kids app. It began with a conversation between colleagues around the issue of child financial development. Many studies are being conducted around the way children interact with their finances at a young age and how these life lessons materialize in adulthood. FNB wanted their youth to be more finance savvy as they approached adulthood. Thus, a problem was born. Together with a tech-savvy coding team, a solution took root at the FNB Codefest. Together, the business fundies and the super techies developed a hands-on app to help kids better navigate and interact with their finances. The collaborative experience of Codefest can achieve a great deal in a small amount of time. It aims to promote the application of better business solutions that meet new requirements for inarticulate or existing market needs. This year, FNB ran its first Codefest in March, and another bigger one in October when over 250 developers and business strategists converged in one venue for a sprint to accelerate current projects, incubate the latest financial service trends, strategize on the gaps in the market, and develop solutions to them. With all participants working towards the same goal, the energy in the air was electric. Anissa Razak talks about the adrenaline involved in such an event and how this kind of energy and passion created an atmosphere that propelled a call to action.
So, into day two, Codefest fairly new for me. I haven't been at Codefest before, and a lot more people there than day one. We did the basic technical whiteboarding on day one, but I needed the teams to understand what the different screens would be in the app, what the different functionalities would be, etc. So we did a lot of work around that and just get the team to understand what our concept was in a simple way, because it's all new to them, but also get them to be as excited and as energized as we are about the idea, because we've been toying with this value proposition for a long time, and it's a topic that's very passionate to us here at Savings and Investments, but it was also making sure that we get them as passionate about it as well, so that we can get the result that we desired, which was always on our radar, to win Codefest. It was such a fun experience. I mean, it goes down in one of the most amazing experiences that I've ever been to. But the nice thing was that I have been involved in lots of projects, and what we achieved in those 24 hours and understanding where the problem areas are and being there and being present and guiding it and taking insight from each other, which is the technical people say this is what Agile is about. For me, it was such a huge learning experience, and in all honesty, I'd like to make sure we do all our projects like that, because it's so hands-on and it ensures that business gets what they want and we don't waste time doing stuff that we don't. Then there were times where we started then we started the skinning, and then it became very real, where as the skinning went on, we could see, oh, this is up, what does it look like? And then we changed a lot during that process, and eventually come 9 a.m. we had an app, which I was extremely proud of in terms of what we achieved over 24 hours. And the interesting thing is that it wasn't only F&B people that we worked with. We were one of the few teams that had external people working with us. And the collaboration, and it felt like we had worked with those people for years. So it was very close working relationships and very fun relationships. And then the next step was the science fair. And when you say a science fair to me, I picture what I see on TV. So volcanoes erupting, etc. And I was convinced that we need to put up a show. We need to do something so that when people walk into that room and we have other teams that are competing against us, we draw their attention towards the kids app. So we put up balloons, we all wore ties, we had suckers that we gave out, we put up a big screen so that people could see exactly what the app would do, and we drew a lot of attention, which if all other teams had the opportunity to do that, but I think that's where we set ourselves apart in terms of that science fair, where we were a step ahead. And then it was announced who were the top 6 teams going to be, and to be quite honest, we were tracking the status on that app so closely. It's like I was hitting that refresh button every few seconds, and I was saying to my team, have all the people who are here with coins in their hands been to the stand, work the room, and I want them here. So this was the salesperson in me coming out. Eventually, when it was announced that we were going to be in the top 6, for me, that was already a win. And at that point in time, I didn't anticipate anything further. I was like, my objective was, kids is usually a lifetime, a long-term value proposition, and it's not something that will make profit necessarily in the short term. So from a priority point of view, it's not something that will always get the eye of the executives easily. So for me, just to go to that dragon's den and show them the potential, the business value, etc. of the kids app, it was already a win for me. The most adrenaline during this whole Codefest was during that few minutes of when they were announcing the winners. And the worst thing we could have done was start from 7. The 7, because we had a wild card, hey? I was like, please God, can we not be 7th? Because that would just kill the competitive spirit in me. But then lo and behold, they start announcing the winners, and they're up to the top 3, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're in the top 3. Then they announced 3rd, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're in the top 2. When they announced the 2nd place, and I knew it was Kids App, I don't know, I think it was just so much of a build-up that I had tears in my eyes. It felt like we'd won something that I was working my whole life towards, but it was such a huge achievement. The team celebrated. They were jumping for joy. They were so happy. And you know what? It just meant so much because they put so much into it. The team worked extremely hard, and between business and the technology guys, it was such a collaborated effort that I can't say that there was one that was more than the other. It was an equal effort, and it was just something that was so amazing to achieve what we had. And after that, prize giving, etc., I had people from the other business units saying, please involve me for when this is going live. Promise. And the next day, or I think it was Monday, I had emails in my inbox. Anissa, just by the way, we chatted. I need to be involved in phase 2. Please keep me posted. And to this day, I'm still in touch with them. And then the Friday, we had to speak to the various boards, etc. And for me, somebody that's not involved so much on the technical side, it was a learning experience for me. And then while we were presenting, Jacques said, this is an extremely disruptive idea, and I want you guys in Exco in a month. So we're working very hard towards that. We're working and collaborating across the bank to make sure that we can deliver this value proposition for FNB. And our competitors are hot on our heels, so we don't have much time. So for now, that's exactly what my priority is. We want to deliver this, and we want to deliver this fast. And I'm extremely excited that we're at FNB are going to be able to deliver South Africa's first banking app for kids.
So what exactly did this entail? And how was it all made possible? Getting geared up for a Codefest can take months before the event actually kicks off. Over 150 business innovators got together on the 1st of September, Spring Day, to achieve ideation, the green shoots of Codefest. This was a month before the actual event. It created a wealth of ideas that businesses really wanted the IT community to work on at Codefest. Everyone working for IT in the FNB group, as well as IT partners and suppliers, were invited to participate. This meant it was not only FNB team members, but also outsiders, people from other businesses. This inclusive aspect to the event broke barriers and allowed communication to flow at ease and with no limits. We did marketing and blogging to raise awareness and get people involved. We then created teams from across the spectrum by matching the tech skills that had signed up to the business prototypes developed at the ideation. Some teams literally embodied group-wide collaboration. They had people from RMB Investment Bank, the Westbank Vehicle Asset Finance Division, FNB Retail Bank, and Ashburton Investments. This paved the way to long-term connections and bonds to be set between participants, as the conversation never really ends at Codefest. For many, it was a learning experience, a way to build on their knowledge and gain a better understanding of what works and what doesn't work. For the business minds and tech minds alike, Jason Sutty tells us more about the process and level of concentrated organization that took place in order to optimize each team.
The month after day zero was, I think, where a lot of the work happened. It was a very fluid time where people were signing up and not necessarily to any particular prototype. A lot of people just came in and said, I want to be part of this, this is great. And so we went through the process of taking those 250 people that had signed up and actually pairing them to the business prototypes and making sure that their skills aligned. Now, this is kind of a tricky thing because when it's your own people, you have deep knowledge of what their capabilities are and where they have skills and what skills they have. When you're pairing people across FNB and Ashburton and Westbank and RMB, you don't know as much. So it's a bit of an informed guess in some cases, but also a couple of phone calls saying, what are your skills? Give me a bit of background about yourself and let's see if we can pair you to something that you have the skills to really contribute in. And so the month leading up to day one, there's a lot of time that we spent looking at the different teams and pairing them to those prototypes. Some teams were incredibly well organized. They said, hey guys, listen, we've thought about this. We've got, cradle to grave, we've got our business people, we've got our architects, we've got our devs, we've got our testers, we've got our ops, we've got everybody. And so for those teams, there was very much a light touch, and I think Fiduciary was a good example of that. But not all teams were like that, and that's where the fun of this event was. So, we sat and there's a lot of brain power used in those sessions. When I reflect back on that, we paired, and we said, okay, guys, so this is what we think the idea is for the prototype. This is the skill set that we have, and you try and visualize it, from cradle to grave in terms of what you need, and that pairing process started. The other thing that happened was people changed their minds. So you start interacting. You say, "Hey guys, we've got this wonderful thing for you to do," and they're like, "Okay, listen, I'm not so excited about that. Maybe I won't do that." And say, "Well, okay, well, don't not come to Codefest. What we'll do is we'll find something better for you." And so those conversations happen like late at night, early in the mornings, and just when you thought you had things bedded down, they weren't. And I think Kids App was a great example of that, because what happened is, I'd lined up, some hot Java developers from RMB because I knew this, right? And some great back-end developers were lined up, and that was all cool. And then some of the Java developers said, hey, listen, we saw this other thing, and we're more excited to be involved with that. And so probably about 3 days before all of this happened, and we said, well, geez, okay, like this Kids App is around a presentation layer on mobile, integrating to the back end. Well, we need those skills. What are we going to do? And so fortunately what happened is SCAD came to the party, Andy and his team, and they filled that gap, where we would traditionally use Java developers. We use SCAD on their platform to implement the mobile channel and the service layer. So that was a really interesting journey, and it wasn't predictable. It was very fluid right to the last. In fact, even on day one, when we started the tech setup, I was pulling teams together. I was trying to figure out how we can actually, deliver on some of these business prototypes. What was really interesting and where the rubber hit the road is day one, because we'd set up the WhatsApp groups late on the Friday before and through the weekend. And day one was the Monday, and everybody was like, "Hey guys, what's going on? Are you here? What's happening?" And unfortunately, I was late. So by the time I got to the event on day one, emotions were running quite high. So the first step was to calmly sit down with everybody and just understand where they were at, talk about some of the things we needed to talk about around who was working on what. Lots of prototypes. What was the final layout? As people had come into the team kind of overnight. So we had to sit down and talk that through. What also happened in day one was the forming of the teams. So once we had said, okay guys, these are the teams, what happened was the team started to self-organize, and they started saying, well guys, what do we need done? Because day 2 we need to prep for that, and we've got to be crystal clear around what is that well-formed outcome, what is that delivery that we're going to aim to code and deliver through the coding marathon. And so there were different approaches, and it shows the different skill sets that people have. Some people storyboard, some people go to UML, and it really just depends on the skills. But the team started working really well, and probably by the end of day 1 and starting into day 2, they'd pretty much self-organized and were almost autonomous. And that's a very powerful thing, because setting up teams and getting them to be autonomous in our normal working life is actually quite a tricky thing to do. So day 2 came, and it was a whole day of presentations where teams would talk about what they're going to be building, with that clarity of taking the original business concept for the prototype from day 0, saying, okay, what were the tweaks, what were the new thoughts, because the different angles of thought actually shifted a lot of the business people's minds around what they wanted and how it could be done. So a lot of that happened, a lot of the forming and the evolution of the idea happened. So by the time we got to day 2, it looked very similar to what we had, but there were lots of tweaks and lots of minds had been working on this. And so the Kids app was presented, and it was, I think at that point there was a lot of clarity around what was going to be built and what wasn't going to be built. And so the presentation was done. Vaughan was talking up there around the Kids app. He talked about 3PIM and Kids app. Lizanne also, she talked about the Kids app specifically. And I think there was a lot of excitement in the team knowing what was to come, because again, all of this build up and 2 days, 1 day of forming the team, crystallizing what you want, and then now you've got a code and you've got to deliver this thing. So there was a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, and a lot of optimism at that point.
A Codefest is set up to produce multiple working software products. And so there are aspects beyond general event and conferencing that need to be in place. Our furniture in the March event, for example, was a collection of round conference tables, which wasted space when there were only 3 people in a team. It was a good enough start, but we really wanted to take it to the next level in the second event. The way you organize teams is important, even right down to the furniture and layout. It must encourage collaboration. For the October event, we had configurable tables, penguin chairs, and mob programming stations. This really intensifies the level of collaboration. With this in place on day 1, teams had the environment to really start to self-organize. As Jason said, it's a powerful thing to set up teams and get them working independently right from the start. There are some vital components to getting things done at a Codefest and getting them done the right way. At the FNB Codefest, we made sure everything was in place. Team coaching and support throughout the 24 hours. Driven Alliance, Brighthouse, and Elixir helped teams storyboard their designs and develop their pitches for the Dragon's Den. The business guys must be there to explain to the tech guys why the prototype is important, what the value proposition is, and what business is trying to achieve out of the solution. Business sponsorship joined the IT developers in full force all the way through the 24 hours, ensuring the optimum efficiency of each idea. Most importantly, you need world-class tech support. In our first event, we did not allow enough time for technical setup. In the second round, we allocated a full day to make sure Wi-Fi was at industrial strength, and everyone had all the tech platforms and were access ready. This time, we had active technical solutions in place from our strategic IT partners. With everything necessary to run a successful Codefest in place, the 24-hour marathon kicked off into a hype of excitement, hard work, and dedication towards each individual project. Once the prototypes have been developed into workable solutions, the participants are judged on a criteria of excellence, efficiency, usefulness, usability, novelty, collaboration, and relevance. The top 6 teams were given the opportunity to pitch their ideas and solutions to the Dragon's Den.
So about 3 years ago, we just finished a big piece of research, and it showed us a very big aha. And that is that there's a 70% correlation between kids who were taught to save as when they were kids, and then when they turn into adults, becoming financially savvy and being successful entrepreneurs. So now that is a very important stat. And from that got born this idea of we need to teach kids how to save. We already had a product called My First Savings, which is all about taking a child's hand and showing them this is how you save, this is how you're careful, don't have instant gratification, save for a goal, how can you make more money by doing chores, by getting your friends and family to help you save. But now we needed an app that the kids could use to save. You don't want them to just go to the bank, you wanted them to see and make visible how they can save. So off we went to day 0 of Codefest and spoke about Kids app as one of the problems, and the rest is basically history. So Kids app, we were so excited about being able to have it presented at Codefest, to have a team of people actually putting up their hands and saying, hey, this sounds like a cool idea, let's present or let's focus on coding something, let's do a prototype. And then Codefest happened. I know other people are going to talk about Codefest, but for me as a business person, it was an amazing experience to sit there and see people playing and struggling with a problem and coming up with a solution. And them saying, no, they want to do it like this, and us saying, no, you have to have this whole thing of being able to show parents what's happening on the kid's profile, but then a kid must be able to do it in their own funky way. So they would design it in one way, and we'll say, no, you have to make it look like this. And then they'll say, no, but technically you can't do it like this. And then us working together from a business and a technical point of view and coming up with something which is cooler than we thought it would look, but yet from a business point of view, achieving exactly what we want to achieve. What we have now is purely a prototype to show it can be done, but now we have to actually go and build it. And hopefully by being at the Dragon's Den, it got the necessary awareness to help us through the process of getting prioritization and getting this delivered quickly. There's the additional benefit though, and that is the whole concept of collaborating more than we thought would be possible. Because there are many areas that are building or thinking about similar things. And now we are at the moment actually collaborating to make sure that there's one solution for kids out there in the digital environment instead of different people working on different solutions. And that's one of the other benefits of Codefest. I mean, we always talk about the collaboration between all the techies and between techies and business, but we should not underestimate the importance of collaboration between the different business areas. And if I look on that day of Codefest, just talking to lots of different business people about what they were working on, there was so much value that we got from that. So not only the Codefest, not only the Kids app benefit, but just all over benefit from a business point of view was so truly beneficial to me.
Codefest 2016 will be even bigger and better. And any high potential ideas out there can sign up and take advantage of the opportunity to accelerate and innovate with the latest technology. The feedback so far has been very positive, and most people feel we should run Codefest regularly. Running regular Codefest into your business strategy could also accelerate existing projects, address customer suggestions, or simply bring about altogether new solutions. As Mohammed Hassem, FNB Chief Information Officer, has stated, real impact doesn't happen in isolation, but requires action, teamwork, and truly innovative ideas. With this in play, you could change the way you do business, or perhaps even shake up your industry.